up, guys? Benji here again with you guys for another character talk this week. And this week we're going to talk about the topic of integrity. And at an essence, what integrity basically is, it is our the consistency in our actions and values in the things in which we do. The opposite of integrity would be hypocrisy. I think we all have an understanding of what hypocrisy is. So at the root of what integrity is, it is at an essence doing what you say when you say you're going to do it the way you said you were going to do it, which just so happens to be one of NG3's three core values. It's the first one that we state as far as doing what you say. So I want to talk today just a little bit about tangibly, what does it look like to be men and women of integrity, and what does that really mean? And so I want to share two quick stories with you real quick, and then I'll share kind of how they relate, and then we will wrap it up. So the first story is about a guy who some of you guys through history classes and stuff may be familiar with as far as Al Capone. He was a mobster. He was the kingpin mob leader in Chicago way back in the day, and he was not famous for anything heroic. Rather, he was famous for bootlegging alcohol and prostitution and murder, and being this ruthless, just evil kind of ruler over Chicago that just instilled fear into people. One of the ways Al Capone was able to stay out of jail is through a great lawyer, an attorney that he had that went by the name Easy Eddie. And because Eddie was so good and keeping Al Capone out of jail, Al Capone compensated him very well for that. I mean, Easy Eddie lived in luxury. He had this massive estate with butlers and people that ran the household for him. I mean, any amenity at that time that Eddie could possibly want, he was given. And so he was very rich. He was very well off, and he had one thing that was probably most important to him, and that was his son. He wanted everything that could possibly be good and done for his son. So his son always had the nicest clothes and the nicest car and had a great education, and money was no issue when it came to basically trying to give Eddie's son anything that he wanted. And Easy Eddie got to a point in life to where he began this inner turmoil with some of the things that he was turning a blind eye towards. He knew the crime and the evil that Al Capone was in, and instead of fighting against that, he basically helped Al Capone hide and get away and maneuver his way to no legal trouble. And it came to a point to where he began to kind of stir and become uneasy with that. And one of the main things that Easy Eddie wanted was to leave a legacy of his son, knowing that he was an honest, upright man of integrity, and living the lifestyle that he was, he couldn't do that. And so Easy Eddie took a real step of faith and more of a real risk, and going to speak against Al Capone and the mob to kind of reveal for them what it really was, how evil they really were, knowing that there was going to be a great price to pay for that. And so it came to a time to where Easy Eddie went and he testified against the entire mob, knowing that that was his one effort to try to restore some integrity back to when his time came to die, that at least his son was left with the memory of his dad doing the right thing. And so sure enough, as he testified against the mob, sure enough, one night a blaze of gunfire came and mowed down Easy Eddie, killing him. But even though his death came, he was able to give the greatest gift to his son possible, in knowing that his dad died, trying to extend integrity and what it meant to be a man of honor. And he paid the greatest price to leave that legacy. The next story is a World War II hero by the name of Butch O'Hare. And Butch is one of many World War II heroes, but he's most famously known for being a fighter pilot. And one day Butch O'Hare took off from the aircraft carrier and from the fleet that he was with, and they were on a mission. And shortly into the mission, he realized that whoever had flown the plane previous to him left the plane basically on empty with no gas whatsoever. So reluctantly, Butch O'Hare had to divert from the course in which he was going and had to head back to the fleet to get some fuel and gas. And as he was approaching opposite direction of where everybody else was going, coming back in to his base, he noticed a massive swarm, if you will, of Japanese fighter planes that were on their way to wreak havoc and to attack the base in which he was going towards. And so too far from the fleet to be able to call them back for help, and a little bit too far away to be able to actually help the base where he was, he took it upon himself to go headfirst putting aside all of his own well-being and risking his life to try to save his fellow soldiers. And so the story basically goes that Butch was very aggressive in attacking these Japanese planes, shooting as many down as possible. And when he had finally shot down every plane he could and ran out of ammo, he began just nosediving at planes, trying to clip wings or clip a tail of one of the Japanese planes to try to knock down as many as possible. And he was successful. And I think he got around 5 planes or so actually dropped out of the air. And after a little while, because it was such a surprise attack, the Japanese finally left and diverted and went back on their own way and kind of and forgot about and left their mission of attacking that U.S. base. And so as he went back in and landed, he told the story to the rest of the soldiers of what had just happened, and they were able to pull video footage from his plane and realizing what a heroic act Butch had just done, risking his own life to save possibly hundreds of lives that were there at the base. And so Butch was awarded the first ace fighter pilot in World War II. And he was also awarded a Congressional Medal of Honor. He now has a memorial airport in Chicago, Illinois, with a memorial inside the airport there as well. So you may be asking, what do those two stories have to do with each other? What does Easy Eddie and Al Capone and him dying for integrity for his son and Butch O'Hare fighting against the Japanese to save lives, what do those have to do in common? And the common denominator there is that Easy Eddie was actually the father of Butch O'Hare. And so we can only assume that Butch O'Hare in his lifetime was able, in this time of danger, to look back on the sacrifice his dad made to be a man of integrity and gave him the courage it took to fight against the enemy all by himself to try to save the lives of others. And so I want to leave that with you guys. Do you think about what are the things that we are leaving if we were to die today or in our lifetime? What is the legacy we want to leave with people? Are we men and women of integrity? Do we do what we say we're going to do? Do we risk public opinion and maybe criticism from friends or peers? Do we risk some criticism so that we are more concerned with being honest and being upright and doing what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it? That can be a very unpopular thing for a lot of our culture to do. We want to do what everybody else thinks is better, and we want to sacrifice our own morals and ethics at times to satisfy the desires and the appeals of people. And so I ask you guys over this next week, as we think about this, let's take a step back. Let's realize maybe some areas where we're sacrificing our own ethics and be able to step back into those beliefs that we have, and knowing that I would rather be men and women of integrity and honesty than just to satisfy the desires of people. So I hope this again finds you guys well. I hope we are learning day in and day out how to cope with this quarantine season, and we look forward as NG3 and as a staff and volunteers to connecting back with you guys hopefully very, very soon. Thanks, guys.